Hello everyone, welcome back to US Diplomacy. Today we move forward in our journey and talk about one of the most important policies in American history, the Monroe Doctrine, and how it shaped US diplomacy in the 19th century. After gaining independence, the United States slowly became stronger. By the early 1800s, the country was more stable, but there were still many challenges in the world. European powers like Britain, France, and Spain were still very powerful and active in different parts of the world, especially in the Americas. At that time, many countries in Latin America were fighting for their independence from European colonial rule. Nations like Mexico, Brazil, and others wanted freedom, just like the United States had achieved earlier. The United States supported these independence movements, but it was also worried. There was a fear that European powers might try to take control of these new nations again. This is where the Monroe Doctrine comes in. In 1823, President James Monroe introduced a major foreign policy known as the Monroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine had a simple but powerful message. It said that the Western Hemisphere, meaning North and South America, should no longer be open to European colonization. It also warned European countries not to interfere in the affairs of independent nations in the Americas. In simple words, the United States was telling Europe, "Stay out of our region." At the same time, the United States promised that it would not interfere in European affairs or existing colonies. This policy was important because it showed that the United States was becoming more confident and active in global politics. Although the United States was not very powerful at that time, the Monroe Doctrine became a strong statement of intent. Interestingly, Britain also supported this idea because it wanted free trade with Latin American countries and did not want other European nations to dominate the region. Because of this indirect support, the Monroe Doctrine became more effective. Over time, the Monroe Doctrine became a key part of US foreign policy. It was used by future leaders to justify American influence in the Western Hemisphere. As the United States grew stronger, it started playing a bigger role in global affairs. Another important development during the 19th century was territorial expansion. The United States expanded its territory across North America. This expansion increased its power and influence. With more land, more resources, and a growing population, the United States became stronger economically and politically. Diplomacy continued to play an important role during this period. The United States signed treaties, made agreements, and built relationships with other countries. For example, diplomatic negotiations helped in resolving border disputes and avoiding conflicts. Diplomacy was also used to promote trade and economic growth. As the country expanded, it needed stable relations with neighbors and other nations. This period also showed that diplomacy was not only about war and peace but also about growth, cooperation, and strategy. Now let's understand why the Monroe Doctrine is still important today. The Monroe Doctrine is considered one of the foundations of American foreign policy. It showed that the United States was ready to protect its region and take responsibility for its influence. Even in modern times, the idea of limiting foreign interference in certain regions is still relevant. It also marked the beginning of the United States as a regional power, which later became a global power. In conclusion, the Monroe Doctrine was a turning point in US diplomacy. It changed how the United States interacted with the world and showed its growing confidence and strength. It also helped shape the future of international relations in the Americas. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to US Diplomacy. See you in the next video.